Hey everybody, let's start our meeting. Let's do a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if we could do a moment of silence for the war going on in Ukraine, I would appreciate that. Just a moment. Okay, thanks. And we got a roll call. I see everybody. Anybody not here? All right. Having heard none, we're all here. And then we've got public comment. And I've got 2 on this list. And of course, we do have a remote meeting as well, so we may have more there. And I've got Pete Bailey. Come on up. Just so you all know the rules, you get 3 minutes and, and have at it. So.
All right, thank you. My name is Pete Bailey. I live on Wilkes Street, right by Memorial Park. And I'm here representing the Tree Advisory Committee and just sort of announcing that we are hosting the Arbor Day celebration this year on Friday, April 22nd at 300 Main Street, where there will be a few activities, a tree planting, of course, and the Arbor Day Proclamation read by Councilmember Wren Longno. Thank you, Wren. And there will be some light refreshments, kid-friendly activities, a raffle, and some poetry read by a local poet, Addison Goodson. So all are encouraged to attend. It will be from 3:30 to 5:30 on that Friday afternoon, hoping for good weather, but it will be rain or shine. And yeah, we're looking for a large turnout. Beacon is a Tree City USA member, which requires us to do this Arbor Day celebration, but I think we're all pretty excited to sort of be back out and continuing on with all the celebrations that happened prior to COVID. If anyone has any questions, feel free to contact me. My information is on the city website under the Tree Advisory Committee. We're always looking for more members. I think there are 2 vacancies on the committee. And anyone who's interested in trees or just wants to get involved. Thank you.
And was that 300 Main Street?
Yes, 300 Main Street.
Thanks, Pete. Dennis Pavlock.
If I could have the council's undivided attention, please, thank you. I wasn't going to mention this comment, but I'd like to mention it because I believe it's very important. In my neighborhood where I live, about a block from Bob's Corner Store, we all know where that is, I've had 3 neighbors, 3 of my neighbors live to be 100 years old. I think that's damn special, let me tell you, folks. I am proud of that fact of 3 of my neighbors, and I knew them all. That's just one of my comments I wanted to say tonight. The second comment is the Clarkstown Police Department in Westchester is sponsoring a You Text, You Drive, You Pay. So a while back, what the state police did, let me tell you what the state police did. I don't know what area it was in. I believe it was this area. I don't know about Dutchess County. It was in the area. They contracted with the truckers because the 18-wheelers are up so high, so up they could look down on the cars and they could see who's texting. And they contracted with the truckers to do that and catch a lot of these people on their phones and doing some dangerous stuff behind the wheel. My last comment is, why are we hiring as a city, why are we hiring out-of-town contractors to do work in our city when I believe the contractors that live locally here would need to get some work done? I see some local contractors in my neighborhood and other neighborhoods that are getting work because of the work they've done at a previous location, and their word of mouth got around and they know who to call when they want the job done correctly. with their work they're satisfied with, but I wanted to ask that the last couple of council meetings ago, and I forgot to ask it, and I made a note of it. I believe we could have had a local tree company here take care of the trees here in the city of Beacon. I don't know why we're outsourcing some of these deeds and our needs to other companies out of the area. So just a note for that, be reminded of that our local companies here are hurting just as anybody else outside the city Beacon line, and we need to get our Beacon people in to do work when we can get them to do work.
15 seconds.
They're just as qualified as anybody else to do the work. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public meeting want to speak? Teresa.
Teresa Kraft, Beacon. I would have been here on time if it was not for the 5 cars making U-turns on Main from one end of Main Street to the other, directly in front of me. Let's stop investing all our energies on automobiles, gas or battery operated, and focus more on the safety and well-being of the pedestrians sharing the roads around the city. Now we're in fear of being run over by electric bikes and scooters riding illegally on the sidewalks. Bring back the trolley, and while you're at it, bring back brotherly love. I think if word got around the web that it's serious business and easy to get a traffic ticket in Beacon for reckless driving, speeding, or double parking and illegal U-turns, people will take notice. Continuous enforcement is the only solution if we want to make a difference in our community. Beacon is falling short on its historic preservation. We still see mass-produced design projects showing up at all the other city board meetings. Uninspired designs that look the same as any other municipality across the country. Let's save that open green space at Main and Cross and protect the small view shed of the mountain as you drive onto Main Street. The initial view may be small, but it's mighty beautiful and one of a kind. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here in the public want to speak? Okay.
And you have no one online.
Got no one online? Okay. All right.
No one online, Mayor.
Let's do our reports. I'll be easy. I'm okay today, and I'll pass it along to start with Dan.
All right. Just a couple things. Firstly, I started doing office hours in March, and I will continue to do office hours starting in April onward on a monthly basis. So on the 3rd Sunday of every month from 11 to 1, I will be available at Trax Coffee House at 1 East Main, hopefully outside in the patio. And so the first of my office hours will be held on Sunday, April 17th from 11 to 1. So please stop by, grab a coffee, and we can chat. I have 2 things that are old business that I wanted to follow up on. One is the issue of parking around the mountain. So the last action I think that we took on parking near the mountain was we reduced the amount of parking by closing off Pocket Road. But I think with the busy season upon us, it might be helpful to talk about what our options are, if we could, if anyone else is interested in including that on the agenda soon. But it is going to get pretty hairy on Howland soon. So.
Yeah, I agree. I would really like to include that too.
And then I just wanted to follow up, I think, on the leading pedestrian intervals, which I think a couple weeks ago, Chris, you mentioned was being looked into or worked on. And if there's any update that we can get on the LPI, I'd love to know where we're at with that. Just some of the people who originally brought it to my attention were following up with me. So that's all from me.
And those are the pause before the light turns.
Yeah, it's a few extra seconds so that pedestrians are out in the road before vehicles are cued to move.
Yeah.
Or signal to move.
I mean, every time I make that left turn, I don't know about everybody else, but it's just a chill.
Just a point. I'd like not to talk about that intersection in public because we are now being sued on that case.
Okay.
Yeah, so anything that we talk about, it just we should do an executive session.
Okay. So, hello. I would like to begin just thanking Sergey and Amber for presenting on compost, and just wanted to remind everyone that the compost bins will be live, the drop-off locations, Memorial Park, the community center on West Center, and where's the third one?
Behind Hudson Valley Brewery.
Oh, yes, thank you.
And the Churchill parking lot.
And the Churchill parking lot. So those will be live on April 15th. And another reminder from the Conservation Advisory Committee, Green Beacon Coalition, is the Earth Day cleanup, which happens on Saturday, April 23rd, 9 to 12. The day after the Arbor Day celebration on the 22nd at 300 Main Street from 3:30 to 5:30. And let's see. Oh, also, We Play is accepting donations of gently used items beginning in April. So you can check their website or their Facebook page for the schedule for donations being accepted. And then I think the sale is from May 13th to 15th. I saw on the city website that BVAC is doing a training for Narcan and Stop the Bleed trainings. And that's at 1:30 on the 23rd, Saturday the 23rd. So you can do the Earth Day cleanup and still make it to the Narcan training. And if you would like to attend, you can email D. Cortez, C-O-R-T-E-S, at beaconvac.org by the 20th of April. That's on the Beacon City website, which has this handy request for service button that I've talked to a couple of community members who were not aware of that, and they had specific requests. So just so that everyone's aware of that, if there's a sign missing or something you'd like to request, that's a handy button there. Also, the Beacon High School class of 2023 tonight gets 33% of anything you get from Chipotle, so there's still time. If you're ordering online, you can use code EN8BGGK, and your funds will go to those who are juniors now at Beacon High School. That's it for Ward 3.
That was so informative, Wren. I have one announcement in that line. The Mutual Aid Beacon is providing a free after-school program in the performing arts called PVA ! Named by last year's cohort. It is for children's grades K through 5. It's being held at the Beacon Rec Center. Space is limited and registration is required. Please email mutualaidbeacon@gmail.com or call Sandy, who is running the program, at 347-451-8699. It's a great program. I know that we've been hearing a lot about a sort of lack of affordable programming for kids and young people to have a reliable place to go after school, and I think this is an excellent program that our community is providing for each other. I am also continuing my monthly office hours on second Sundays, so that's this coming Sunday, April 10th. I'm doing them from 4 to 6 p.m. I am rotating my location. So this Sunday, I'll be at the pavilion across the street from Ron's Ice Cream in Memorial Park. Hopefully this is another family-friendly location. I also had an update about the community quarterly. I don't know if you want me to do that now or wait till everyone's done. Great.
Not gonna be too long.
I hope not, unless there's pushback, which would be fine. So what was on the agenda that was given to the public is a slightly updated version of what we discussed in workshop meeting last Monday. I just sort of cleaned up some things based on our conversation, but the main thing I wanted to make sure we articulated in this meeting was a draft of the central question, which is what we discussed last week. To give maybe a short summary for anyone who's listening now but wasn't listening last week, the community quarterlies are an extension of what the council sort of put out at the beginning of January as our priorities and agendas to make government more accessible and participatory. We're a little off schedule in terms of quarterly, but the topic that we put out first was around community safety and police reform. And the purpose of these quarterlies is to have a forum to receive feedback from the public, ideas from the public about what the city's priorities should be. And the broad format is that we are articulating a central question, soliciting solutions from the community, having those solutions shared in a live event, and then having those ideas voted on by the public. So a three-part process. The central question draft is, what is a key aspect of community and public safety that is missing or requires improvement and that the city should provide? I also wrote a short background paragraph. The Council of the City of Beacon recognizes that multiple services and resources live under the umbrella of community and public safety. These include the police, as well as healthcare, food, housing, and recreational resources. Together, these areas of life encourage critical community connections, a sense of unity and belonging that are critical to our shared safety. In this first community quarterly, the council seeks to hear from Beaconites about what community safety means to them specifically and what the city can do to meet those needs and ensure we all feel safe and are able to thrive here. Open to feedback. I hope I captured what we discussed. This isn't a formal motion, but if anyone has comments. Questions? Got it totally wrong? Great. Then we'll move forward with the broad framework that's in the now 3-page document. I did want to ask one clarifying question about, in terms of, I guess, rooting or approving any like final version of the survey or final version of the ballot. Is that something that needs to be done in a particular format? Or are we saying this is our guiding document, and as long as we don't do something outside of this guiding document, then we can just start putting this out there?
Do we want to discuss details now, or do you want to finish our reports and then we can talk about some of that? Is there a preference?
Well, our format is if we're going to go back and forth, we should do that in a workshop. So I'm okay with a little bit of discussion, but otherwise that's kind of how we split the world up, right? So I'm not sure we need any. Do we need some? Or, you know, again, if it's just a comment or two, that's perfectly fine, right?
To answer your question, Paloma, I'm fine with whatever you or whoever you get with the public to participate with you. I know you put out that ask, come up with Google form, something else, however it ends up making sense.
Okay.
Yeah, I caught up on the conversation and listened to the last meeting, and I thought it was really great and really appreciated it. And I just want to thank you too for leading the conversation and doing some of the research and talking to community Jason and others getting this going. Thank you.
Cool. Yes, this was meant to be an update, not a discussion. So hopefully I did that. And I will leave my council update at that.
Okay.
I don't have anything significant to report, but I would like to thank the Beacon High School softball team, who I caught early Saturday morning cleaning up from one end of Main Street to the other, kind of long before most of Beacon had woken up. And what struck me is that they were doing it without any kind of fanfare, without any kind of like seeking for attention or gratitude. They were just silently picking garbage up on Main Street. It was just amazing. I had to introduce myself and ask them who they were, you know. But it was just really great. And it was, you know, I'm sure the kids were all happy, probably built some sort of, you know, team, you know, camaraderie, but they were certainly what they gave to the community sort of silently in the morning is much appreciated. So thank you. That's it.
I would just like to share a couple of important dates to start, or things that are happening in the community. Tomorrow, Tuesday, April 5th, at 6 o'clock, there is a panel on women in business, busting barriers at the Howland Cultural Center, featuring local businesswomen and their stories, struggles, and successes. On Thursday, April 14th, at 5:30 p.m., there's a Dutchess County Public Forum on addiction and recovery, and that's happening online, and you can access that on dutchessny.gov, and if you scroll down, you'll find their calendar, just like you would on our website, and you'll find that event. But attending events like those, so again, this forum is on addiction and recovery, helps the county figure out what services are lacking, or if you've worked with these services in the past, how they can improve. So I do encourage folks to attend that. On Saturday, April 23rd, I know one Narcan training was mentioned. There is another one happening earlier in the day as well. At 11 a.m., the Daydream Collaborative Clinic is hosting a free Narcan training, and that is on 544 Main Street, Beacon, New York. And again, that's 11 a.m., and you can register at daydreamclinic.com. Saturday, April 30th, Paloma just spent some time talking about it, but we are doing our first community quarterly, and that's going to be at the VFW Hall. I don't think we've picked out a time yet, so just mark that on your calendars, and we will continue to work that out. And I would like to throw out there that on May 18th, that's a Wednesday, I will be hosting a Ward 2 meeting. So for all residents of Ward 2, I will you can come to the community room at Forest Hill Heights at 6:30 p.m. Again, Wednesday, May 18th. I'm going to be having a Ward 2 meeting so we can talk about the issues in Ward 2, things that are working, things that aren't, and you can come and meet your neighbors. And I'll talk more about that as that comes around. Another thing that I would like to mention is that I had the opportunity to attend the Parking and Traffic Safety Committee last week, their meeting. That is a well-oiled machine. They are diligent, they are smart, they are incredible. I think after I'm done on City Council, I want to be on that committee. I mean, they really do. They're a well-oiled machine. They are paying attention to everything that's happening in the city, between the accidents that are happening and all of the comments that are being made on social media. They want to hear from the public, and they do a really good job. I'm so impressed, and it was really amazing to just share a space with them. I also had the opportunity today to meet with the Beacon Housing Authority as the City Council continues to discuss solutions for affordable housing. You know, I'm really excited to learn more about what is in the city, what's happening, and, you know, people on the ground who have their own ideas of what affordable housing could look like. And I want to continue the conversation, but it was really amazing to talk to people who are providing housing right now, and to just get a better understanding of how that works. And I got to meet Roland and Veronica, and they're really incredible. They had some high regards for you, Chris. So yes, yeah, I have a lot of gratitude. I'm grateful to be in this city, and I'm grateful for my neighbors, my community, my fellow council members and city administrator. I think I had some other things to say, but I don't have them written down, so I will conclude my notes with that, my reports with that, and pass it on to Molly.
Thank you, Justice. The one thing I'll add, too, about the Community Quarterly for my Ward 1 constituents is that when I was talking with you, a lot of you bring up road and traffic and safety issues, and so that certainly falls within the general community safety. So I know some of you as individual issues who've already been brought to the excellent Traffic Safety Committee that Justice had a chance to visit a couple weeks ago, but also stuff you could bring up, particularly if you're thinking about larger issues as well. And then one clarifying question about our Community Quarterly, as Justice mentioned, it was the VFW Hall. I thought we might be at a different location. I don't know if we've landed on that location yet. I don't know, Paloma, if you want to speak to that.
We had talked about next across the street in the community room at Tompkins Hose.
I don't know that we nailed it down. Ben,
Okay.
did we confirm a location? All-knowing Ben?
We're still working on that, working on figuring out what the capacity is over across the street, but Paloma and I will be hopefully hashing that out early this week.
It's like Deus Machina.
Great. Yeah, it seemed that the VFW Hall is not going to be available that weekend or until mid-May, and I think it would be better to have it sooner rather than later, and I think it's a great location if it's okay with
We'll try
Chief.
to nail it down tomorrow, and then we can get an announcement out.
Thank you for clarifying that and correcting me.
Justice is going to rock up to VFW.
I was going to show up at the VFW Hall.
We will get that out to the public as soon as we know. Yeah, and the only other thing I have is just a clarifying question that I don't know, Chris, if you know the answer to yet, but I know paving on Main Street, milling and restriping. Oh, look, it's already on his list. Well, what a good segue to pass it off to you. Or pass it back to you,
You're
Lee, and you
shilling.
can do
No,
the
you're
others.
doing great.
Thank you, Molly.
Before Chris takes it, the only thing I want to add on traffic safety is I sat on council before we had a good working traffic safety committee, and traffic issues took up an incredible amount of our time. So not only is it a well-oiled machine, but it's helping us a lot because we delegate that authority out to them. They have they know the state law really well. They know how to do the appropriate work so that they can say we've done the work to look at this particular intersection. So I just thank them for that effort. And then I also just want to say thanks, Pete, for turning up and talking about trees. So now it's yours, Chris.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the segue, Molly. Main Street is going to be milled and paved along the entire 1.7 or 2 miles, depending on how you count it. We are going to begin the milling on Monday, April 25th, which will take 3 days, and that's where we take off the top coat of asphalt so that we can put down new asphalt. So that will be done by a contractor, then it's followed up the next day or so with some cleanup and handwork done by our crews. We hope to have Main Street back open for the weekend. It's going to look a little rough. It's not going to have striping, but it'll be open. The following week, starting on May 2nd, we'll be doing paving for 3 days. And again, this is all dependent on weather and our contractors not getting backed up, which is what delayed it last fall. And then we hope to come in after that and do the striping and painting at night and reopen for the next weekend. So if everything goes well, we should be done towards the end of the first week of May. We'll have a newly paved Main Street, all new crosswalks, all new parking stalls and center lines. And that is a good segue into another Main Street thing. You may have noticed that we have quietly been cleaning up Main Street, not just having great young people cleaning it up, but we've, over the last year, gone through and cleaned up all of our 56 garbage cans. We've enlarged the opening at the top so stuff doesn't congregate, and we took a lot of stickers off, we cleaned them up, and then we hit all of the poles. And I just want to remind people that posting notices and posters and stickers on the light poles is actually against the law, and we've spent a lot of time cleaning it up. Somebody inadvertently then posted 2 days after we did all that work, and we had to call them and say, you're not allowed to do this, please take them down. So I just want to remind people that we'll try to help you get the word out on community events, but putting posters on the light poles is prohibited. And then I just wanted to make a comment on our procurement. A question was raised about why we aren't using local firms. We absolutely try to use local firms when we can, but we are also subject to the state bidding laws. So for projects over certain amounts, we have to go to bid, and you have to take the lowest responsible bidder. You do have in your procurement an ability for some services below $35,000 to go with a local company if there's only a 10% disparity in the price. You know, again, we do use a lot of local contractors, and but we also have to remain in accordance with state law on bidding. Thank you.
Chris, could I just have a clarification about the milling and paving? You say each one takes 3 days, but just to be clear, we're not going to shut down Main Street from one end to the other, or are we, for 3 days?
We are going to have to clear Main Street, so we're going to be posting. It depends. I'm not sure yet how they're going to do it, but it looks like we may close it for the 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah, just because we're going to be going through, and there's a lot of handwork to be done around all of the manholes and the storm drains, and so while the miller may not be in a particular section that day, our staff may be going behind them and doing it. So I would just say we're going to get the word out via social media, a swift 911 call the week before, and then immediately before we start, and we'll know exactly what's closing when.
Yeah, and
that's
I think
the rough window of time.
Yeah, as best we can to the business owners that, you know, have deliveries and various other stuff. And
yeah,
that'd be great. Thanks.
Do we know how this is going to impact the bus schedules as well? Because the local buses pass through Main Street, and if they're not going to be able to stop on Main Street, I think it's important for at least bus riders to know where to go.
Yeah. So I have a call coming up with the Dutchess County Transit next week about the broader issue of the loop bus, and I'll definitely put that on. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, though, one thing I heard from this conversation, I was assuming that we wouldn't have any parking, but that there might be some traffic on there. But let's try to clarify that, because that's pretty important.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
I had a follow-up question about the garbage cans and the poles. Agree that we shouldn't be posting things on the garbage cans or the poles, but I've also noticed that we haven't had banners up on Main Street in a while, and I wasn't sure if that was a policy change or if
Do you want me to answer?
we just haven't had anybody who has asked to do it.
So in late 2019 or early 2020, the last city administrator stopped allowing banners on Main Street because we had a safety issue where one or two banners broke and they were waving around in the wind, and our staff had to go up with a bucket truck to try to grab this thing, and we're almost knocked out of the bucket. And so Anthony Ruggiero at that time closed it off. I didn't allow them during COVID because we were down a lot of staff, and then people recently have been asking, and thus far I've not approved any. I think the policy that Anthony did was wise because I think you have a safety issue, and I also think you have a lot of other means of getting the news out about community events. I mean, when we did banners back 30 years ago, you didn't have internet, you didn't have any social media. It was really tough to get the word out other than the Beacon Free Press and a banner. So today, I just didn't view it as something. There's also a question of which banners we fly, and we've had a lot of arguments about people who have a particular point of view and they want to have their banner, and frankly, I don't have the time to adjudicate which banners we do and which we don't. So I haven't approved any, and I don't envision improving them.
These are the banners on the light posts?
No, across the...
No, they used to...
Oh, the banners going across.
Yeah, like
okay.
by Key Food, they would string them right across, and they become like a sail for the wind.
On Beekman, there used to be these banners on all the light posts for... I can't remember even what it was for, but there's some that are still there.
There's some
flapping
remnants,
around.
yeah. The only thing we did approve, the Daughters of the American Revolution asked if they could put these smaller banners on telephone poles that are owned by Central Hudson, and in order to do that, the city needed to give permission and ask permission from Central Hudson. So last year we tried 15 of those. They were really well received. They came back and said, we'd like to do 45 of those. And they don't create the safety issue. They're much smaller, and again, if you want to revisit this in workshop, we can, but
I think the word is still getting out about Into the Woods at the end of the month by the Beacon Players. I feel like I see it,
yeah.
pretty front and center, just walking down Main Street on the little signs. So.
Yeah, I think I would like to put this to workshop. I'm lean a little more in the other direction, that as much as I make use of and appreciate getting things out, information out in other ways, there is something valuable in the same way that there is something valuable about a community square of having information posted in designated locations. I remember having conversations with people about how we don't really have a community board to post posters in a particular location. There's the one outside of the Natural Market, there's the one at Memorial Park, but everything else you have to get permission from a business owner to put something in their window. There used to be one in the post office, but that closed off, and I think there is something valuable to having community places to post physical information. But I agree that safety and concern is a good reason to have some limits to it.
I would also suggest if we have that discussion, we should schedule an executive session just to talk about the legal parameters and the free speech components of that, and the ability of the municipality to control the message, or to have rules talking about different types of messages and what that means in terms of the messages that are permitted.
So let's put it in workshop.
Okay.
Okay. And I don't think there's a particular rush on it, so when it's appropriate, right? Unless there's some demanding event, right?
We did get the email about Mental Health Awareness Month, and I don't know if the ribbons qualify.
Yeah, no, the ribbons are fine, and I approve those to
Okay,
just
great.
go up. They're removable. They don't damage our property like stickers or tape do. And they will remove them at the end of May. So we had
Great.
strict parameters on that, no safety issue. They'll be putting out those.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Administrator?
Report a pothole is still up on our website if you'd like to report a pothole. Someone reported a good one up on Judson, wasn't it?
So I report my potholes through the report a pothole form.
So I sent Nikki up to plant flowers in his pothole.
It's big enough.
Pollinators.
Is this the pothole that goes up the driveway off Judson, or is this the one on Judson?
Undetermined.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
There's also a big one on Hudson that I have not yet reported.
Yeah.
That maybe you've heard about it.
Hudson and Denning Avenue are also going to get a full mill and repave this year. So they are on the list. Thank you.
Cool. All right, let's do our local laws and resolution. We've got 4 on the agenda for this evening. The first one is ratifying Mr. Foscolo, Paolo, Foscolo, Peter Stropoli, and Gavin Coughlin or Coughlin. Did we determine how he pronounces it?
No, we didn't determine that.
I'm going to say Coughlin. To the City Beacon Fire Department, can I get a motion and a second? And Chris will explain it.
Motion.
Second.
All right, so that was Justice and Molly. Chris?
So in the charter, it requires the city council to ratify any new volunteer firefighters. Even though we have a primarily professional department, we still have an important contingent of volunteers in the department, and we still welcome volunteers. So you may know we had 3 volunteer companies, and most of them are not very active, so we're now taking volunteers directly into the Beacon Fire Department to be under the command of our chief and assistant chief. So these are the first 3 volunteers that we have going in, and we welcome more.
Any discussion?
I would just like to add that I am excited and proud specifically for Peter Stropoli. I knew him back when I was younger, actually in high school, and he helped me a lot break through some of my own biases. He's good people, and so I'm excited to have him on board as a volunteer firefighter.
Cool.
And I would just add, I just want to thank those volunteering, and we all know that the fire department's a tough area to volunteer in because there's so much training that's required, and I just want to say thanks. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? One down. Next one is a resolution appointing Kimberly Marra-Choffo
Yes, you got that.
to the position of Deputy City Clerk. Can I get a motion and a second, and Chris will give us some details.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, so that was Paloma and Wren.
We need buzzers.
Then Ben would have to call
I can just
it.
pick who does it, right, arbitrarily. Would you prefer?
I think Nick would have something to say about that.
Yeah, all right.
All right, back to Kimberly.
Okay.
So you recall that we had promoted our deputy clerk, Amanda Caputo, to serve as a replacement for Ethel Grogan and doing the planning and zoning and building department. We canvassed the list of eligibles of people who had taken the test for deputy clerk, and we interviewed 2 people. Kimberly was our top candidate, and we would like to bring her on starting next Monday.
So bringing her on next Monday would require us to approve it. Any discussion of that? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 2 down. All right, the next one is a resolution authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement with High-End Automotive for towing services. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
Molly and Dan. Chris, you were to tell us who High-End Automotive is and who it used to be.
Yeah, so High-End Automotive just recently purchased Servone Auto Body, which had done the towing for Beacon for the last at least 30 years, if not more. We need to have someone there to tow cars in emergency circumstances, for accidents, for snow plowing, and we want to have someone who has a yard where they can store those vehicles within the city of Beacon. So they fit all of the parameters. We basically sent them the old contract that we had with Servone. They're fine with the terms of that, and we would just kind of pick up where we left off with Servone.
Chris, can you, sorry, go ahead.
And Nick is on too. If I missed anything on that.
I had a quick
Correct in your
question.
description, Chris.
Thanks.
I had a quick question about the length of the contract. I see it's 5 years. I don't know if that's what it was previously or any reason for that number.
I've been trying to move us towards multi-year contracts, preferably 5-year contracts on things that I don't think the prices are going to jump a lot on, like on a contract for certain chemicals that we're buying. I'm doing much shorter contracts because they're volatile and all over the place, and I don't want to lock in on a high price. For this, that's a good deal for us, so if I can lock in for 5 years, I'd like to do that.
Great, thank you.
And can you clarify, is this the Servone on 52 or the Servone on Commerce?
On 52.
Okay, just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, the other is Jerry Servone, who does tow, but doesn't have a property to store vehicles on.
Yeah.
This is Vinny Servone, who just retired and sold the business about 2 weeks ago, and our police department honored him. They called out for a car to be towed, and he showed up, and they threw a little goodbye party for him.
And whose car was towed?
I didn't want to tell you about your wife's car, actually, but
Okay. Any other questions about this authorizing the city administrator to cause mischief with vehicle towing services? All right.
Well, let's not say that before we vote on it.
and he never took us bowling either last week. You know?
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. And the last one is also authorizing the city administrator to execute an agreement. This one is with CRP Sanitation, and it is for organic waste pickup and composting. Can I get a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
Paloma and Justice. And Chris, will you tell us a little bit more?
Sure. So in case you missed our last episode, we are starting a pilot compost project that involves two aspects. One is heavily subsidizing backyard bins so people could buy little earth machines for the backyard. The other part of it was to have centralized collection for commercial compost. So a higher grade of compost, you can put animal products and bones and pizza boxes, things that are a little, you probably shouldn't put in your backyard compost. This firm is willing to do the pickup and disposal, and they run a New York State DEC licensed facility down in Coughlin. So we're trying it. We're going to try to see how it works. Do we have issues with contamination or animals or people not using it? And then we can determine in our budget next year how we might want to proceed with compost projects.
I just want to clarify, it's commercial level composting, but it's for households to use, residential households to use compost.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's so household waste, food scraps. The commercial aspect of it is they do it on such a large scale, and with the technology that you can put things in normally that you would be precluded from putting in that backyard.
I'll just add to that. So if you purchase like forks that say they're compostable, if you look closely on them, they'll say in an industrial composter.
Yeah.
That's where you could compost them, not necessarily in your backyard bin.
So, and again, as I think Paloma or Wren said, these are going to be at 3 sites. They will be at the 23 West Center Street Rec Center. They will be at Memorial Park near the We Play in the bathroom, and they will be at the third location.
Churchill
the
parking
Churchill
lot.
parking lot. We always forget that one.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it goes, and we'll collect data on how much use it gets and how well it's used.
I'll remind people that the Churchill parking lot, or more specifically the Hudson Valley Brewery, is also where you can take your filmy plastics. So plastic bags are the most common form that people end up with that in, but there is no other place to recycle filmy plastics. Don't put it in your regular recycling bin.
Do you know where it is? Because I went looking for it.
Oh, no. There's a bin right outside the brewery, but it's sometimes full, and especially if you go during business hours or just knock on the door, if you see someone in there, they'll take it.
Thanks.
And please clean your filmy plastics before you recycle them.
And don't compost them.
And don't compost them.
For
And don't put your compostable filmy plastics in the filmy plastics bin. Put your compostable filmy plastics in the compost bin. No, the compost bin.
Just a quick clarification on the date that the compost program starts. I saw the contract starts on the 15th, so it's at that following weekend that people can
The
expect
17th.
to start being able to drop it off. Thank you, Wren.
Oh, wait, is that right?
Well, it depends whether you vote on this or not.
All right.
Well,
so-
before we vote, I just want to ask people not to remember to remove the stickers from their fruits and vegetables before composting. And with that,
Sorry, that 17th is Dan's office hours. The 15th. Yeah, the 15th, Molly, to answer your question.
Great, thank you.
Okay, everybody ready? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? There we go.
I will say that Sergey filmed the CAC filmed a video with the mayor that will explain everything we just said much better than we just did for the public's clarification.
Yes, my role and the role of other adults in this video was to get everything wrong as to what to put where. And then it was the job of those who are under 5 feet tall to correct the people over 5 feet tall. Okay, all right, 4.5 feet tall. Okay, sorry. It's actually should be good, and it was a lot of fun. So we've saved the most important item for business for last, which is the approval of the minutes of March 21st. Can I get a motion in a second?
Motion.
Second.
Wren and Justice. And are any corrections, additions, changes, commentary?
I did notice that the link didn't go, the Vimeo link didn't go to last week. It went to January. I don't know if that matters.
Yeah, we'll check it.
Okay.
that was Russian cyber crime interference, probably. So,
Very likely.
okay. Any other comments? I know we're having fun tonight, sorry. We'll stop. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
I should mention, I know we just, there is a typo, there's just a second period after the approval of the minutes, on the approval of the minutes, second by Mayor Kyriacou, period.
I'm sorry?
There's 2 periods. We'll
Two-
get it.
Oh.
I got you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that leads us to our second opportunity for public comments. Anyone who hasn't spoken before can certainly speak now. You got up to 3 minutes on any topic that you wish. Thank you.
Good evening. Last week I took the opportunity of providing a small packet of information in my continuing discussion about creating affordable housing in the city of Beacon. Of course, in order to have good affordable housing, it has to be safe affordable housing. In order to have safe affordable housing, our water must be safe, and our groundwater must also be safe. Included in the packet of information, which I thought was extremely relevant to the concerns I have, is a red covered document that referred to Texaco Chevron's pollution of a particular place in Virginia some years ago that resulted in trial, and in that trial it was reviewed in this document that Texaco had 1,000 different environmental cleanup locations in the country. And in the discussion, there was a discussion about a backhoe driver who hit some pentaborane and caused an explosion and killed somebody, which is rocket fuel that was developed here in Beacon. I'm not particularly concerned about the pentaborane. I'll assume that it was removed in the mid-'80s, although you shouldn't. But I do think that it's important to point out 3 facts. One is the groundwater situation is not clean. 2 is the representation has been made that no one uses the whites for diving. And 3 is that there was at least one well that was collapsed that had a source of some very bad stuff, and it was ignored and just allowed to not be re-entered. Apart from that fact, there is a considerable evidence that the sediment in the Fishkill Creek is also severely polluted. So there are 26 CDs at last count, and that was several years ago on my part, at Blodgett Library that contain all the damning data. And I would like to suggest to you that safety, in terms of from this perspective, concerning that I am very interested in developing our properties, and we are at the lowest spot of the neighborhood. And I am currently in a situation where my
15 seconds.
my cesspool is failing because of the overburden of water coming off the mountain illegally onto my land. The math that I've provided the council in terms of affordability will be the subject of my next conversation, but I would like to have the council take seriously the facts that affordable housing requires grunt work in terms of understanding numbers, and I certainly make myself available to any 2 members of the council almost at any time for further discussions. Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk. For the record, there was Clerk Gebman of Wilson Street.
Thank you for the
Of course.
editorial.
Anyone else, either in person or online?
If
Ben?
you are on Zoom and you'd like to make a comment, please use the raise hand option at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're on a phone, you can press *9. If you're watching on YouTube, you will have to join the Zoom by visiting beaconny.gov. Mayor, we have 1 hand raised on Zoom right now, and that's Brett Miller.
Okay.
Hi, City Council, Mayor. This is Brett Miller, Ward 3. Excuse me, I'm actually driving back from the airport right now. But I just want to ask if we could put the DRI proposal on the agenda at some point, because I'd like to get out in front of this state tender and propose an alternative unifying vision to make Beacon the first city in the world to win the global goals. And I know that this is a little bit unorthodox, but I believe that we could do it, and I'd love to be able to find some time on the agenda to perhaps discuss alternatives to the applications that we filed in the past and didn't succeed in winning. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And I guess I will look for a motion to...
Can I just give a quick coming up? So Ben and I have been able to start doing the agendas in advance, and I just want to let people know, in case they're interested, for next week we're going to have Bob Mitchell in, the architect who did a number of the firehouse consolidation studies and the architect for the Tompkins Hose rehabilitation project. So we're going to be presenting that project to you to get a sense of how and whether you want to move forward. And then 2 weeks from there, at that workshop, we have the Main Street Access Committee coming in to talk about their recommendations and next steps for implementation. So we are trying to line these up in advance, and I would like to just give a little bit of a heads up so that people who are listening in can say, oh, I'm interested in that. I'd like to tune in. Thanks.
Okay.
And I believe that for the last speaker, the DRI proposal that he referred to was submitted in writing as to be public comment for this meeting, so it'll be in the record if anyone wants to refer to it.
I'm confused.
Me too.
I didn't get it.
So the DRI grant was the downtown revitalization
Initiative.
right?
Yes.
And we did it last year, but we'll apply again every year, right?
Why don't we discuss
conclude
that?
that?
in workshop?
I
Yeah,
would
that's
like to
not
talk
clear at
about
all.
that in
Okay.
an executive
Yeah.
session.
Okay.
So I'm referring this specifically Brett Miller's proposal about the city's next application to the DRA, if that happens or when that happens, was submitted per our guidelines, where he sent us an email and said he would like it to be part of public comment.
So a couple of things. With these guidelines, if somebody sends something in writing, we will append it to the minutes.
Yeah.
If somebody sends 3 links to say, go here, here, and here, we don't have the time to do that and then download those and put in. So if somebody wants something in the minutes, they should put it in a concise letter format or email format so it can be appended to the minutes. We don't have the ability to put, 30-page slide decks on that.
Got it.
Yeah, my understanding was we would append comments. I'm just not sure that we would, because once you open the door appending things besides comments, then...
I mean, why don't I append a book?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
that's an
idea is
issue.
that it would need to be able to be read in 3 minutes,
Yeah. That would be
whatever
fine.
it is.
Right. Cool. Okay, anything else? Then I will take a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second, Molly and Dan, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I thank you all and have a good night.
Thank you, Nick.
Dan, 7 o'clock train. Have you started it yet? Are you still